Hey there guys, and welcome to an English pronunciation video. So today I'm going to be sharing with you some practical and useful tips on how you can instantly improve your English pronunciation. So I'm going to be teaching received pronunciation, or the standard British pronunciation, because I'm from England, so that kind of makes sense. And I would say, because I've lived all over the UK, my accent is going to be really neutral. So this is as close to received pronunciation as sort of normal people speak. And the way I like to teach pronunciation is actually how people actually speak, and not just how it says in the textbook. So these are all going to be the real pronunciation that real people use, and this is how I use when I speak English every day. Today we're going to be looking at those really tricky words that end in ed, okay? Because these are really, really tricky, and in every single lesson, every single week, I always hear phrases like, oh, I watched Netflix, or I cleaned my house. And it's one of those things that it's only a small pronunciation mistake, but it's something that for a native speaker, it's one of those red flags that suddenly you hear it and say, oh, that was weird, something's a little strange here. And it's really, as a learner, all of those little things, the things that people will notice, whether it's the choosing the wrong tense or the wrong pronunciation, all of those little things that you can do to correct them that a native speaker then won't even notice, is what helps improve the flow and the sort of naturalness of what you're saying. So although a native speaker is not going to suddenly go, oh, you pronounced that word really well, what it actually is going to do is mean that they don't notice that you're making any of these mistakes, and so it instantly makes your level seem more advanced and better. And really, anything you can do to appear more advanced as well is really important. So that's like learning lots of interesting vocabulary makes you seem much more advanced with your English. And in the same way, if your pronunciation is really, really good, then that also makes you seem better. And so then people feel more comfortable talking to you, it takes less energy for the listener, and so then conversation is just much, much easier. So it's a really good thing to work on, and working on these little things one at a time is going to be a really good way of doing this. Okay, and so when we're talking pronunciation, my first tip, the number one golden rule, the tip, top of the tips, whatever you want to call it, is never trust the spelling in English. So when I say spelling, I mean how you write the word, the letters and the word order and stuff. Never trust it. Just don't bother. Just assume that every word you see, the spelling is nothing related to the pronunciation. It's basically like learning two languages, okay? Like learning if you learn Chinese and you have to learn the characters and the sounds. Unfortunately, because of the etymology of the language, where words are coming from lots of different origins and stuff like that, the pronunciation is just really, really strange. There's lots of words which are spelt the same but pronounced differently. There are lots of words that are spelt differently but pronounced the same, and there's no real way of seeing the word and just guessing how it's pronounced. So it's really important to just kind of assume, if you're doing any pronunciation work or you're ever not sure, just assume that the spelling is lying, the words are lying to you, and you need to double check it, okay? My second tip, and this is for pronunciation in general, is use the IPA, okay? So that's the International Phonetic Alphabet, which is a series of symbols or characters which represent individual sounds. So they use this so that anyone from any language can find it and can identify exactly what that sound should be like, okay? I'm not saying that you need to study them. I have, because I found it really interesting, but it's not about studying them and memorizing them. I'm not going to be telling you to do that, so don't worry, okay? What I'm saying is that if you start to recognize certain patterns, certain characters and certain symbols, that will really give you some extra information. If you go to, for example, the Cambridge English Dictionary, which I'll try and put up here, you'll see that they have the IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet writing of the word, so you can see how it should be pronounced, and then they have a recording. If you listen to the recording, that's great, but sometimes you don't know what you're supposed to be listening to. You don't know where the syllables are, you don't know where the stress is, you don't actually know what sounds they're using. So using the IPA is kind of just like a bit of a hint or a tip or just some extra background information can really make that process a lot easier. So if you're trying to figure out whether it's like in sort of import or import, it's really using the IPA there would also help in that way. So it's one of those things that here we're going to be sort of using these IPA symbols. I'm not going to be saying to you that you should memorize them all. That's really not the point. It's more that if you see them and you recognize them and go, oh, okay, yeah, I remember that's a TH sound or whatever, then it's just giving you a little bit of extra information so you can make intelligent guesses, okay? Because basically when it comes to languages, when you're learning the grammar, you're learning all these concepts, all you're doing is learning how to guess more intelligently, because a lot of the time you don't always know, you just have to make your best guess. And so the IPA in this case, when we're talking pronunciation, is one of the best ways that you can guess, or you can 100% know what you should be saying. To start off with then, we need to sort of think about some physical parts of pronouncing these sounds, okay? So basically, to start off with, when we're talking consonants, so anything that's not a vowel, like A-E-I-O-U, for example, these consonants, there's lots of different features we use when we pronounce them, okay? So there's like what we do with our lips and our tongue and all of this kind of stuff, which in this case is not relevant, so don't worry about that. What we need to focus on is what I like to call the vibration, okay? If you know about phonetics, or you look on Wikipedia about sort of like received pronunciation phonetics or anything like that, then you will see phrases like voiced and voiceless, okay? That's basically vibration and no vibration. That's how I like to call it, because I think it's calling it what it is. It's literally describing the thing. So if you don't know the terms, again, like when you're learning grammar, don't worry, as long as you understand the concept, that's the main thing, okay? So to practice this, what we're going to do is, if you take your hand and do this with me, I know it probably feels really stupid, especially when there's these pronunciation exercises. It always feels a little bit dumb to copy along, but really, honestly, it really is important that you do it so you can sort of feel the physical parts, because the pronunciation is a physical activity. You're training your muscles and different parts of your mouth and your throat and all that sort of stuff, okay? So put your hand on your throat, and we're going to pronounce two sounds here. We're going to pronounce the T sound, so t, t, and a D sound, d, d. Okay, so just do this with me. Okay, so T sound first, t, 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 t. Okay, and now the D sound, d, d, d. So what you should notice there is that the T sound has no vibration. You shouldn't feel any vibration in your throat, whereas the D sound does. Okay, and these are what I would call a consonant pair. Okay, so this is just how I like to describe them, is basically when the sounds are exactly the same except the vibration. So everything I do with my lips and my tongue and all of the other parts of producing the sound are the same. It's only the vibration that's difficult. And that's why these pairs of sounds are always really difficult to identify, and can often be sounds that you will mix up very easily. So to give you some other examples, you have like B and P, F and V, S, Z, Sh, Ch, for example. So all of those, you know, if you've ever seen a word where you thought it began with a CH, a ch sound, but it was actually an SH, a sh, it's because the only difference is the vibration. So it's very difficult to identify those in a lot of cases, okay? And the way you can tell this is if I do the B, P again, okay? If you notice, if you look at my lips, I'll come a little closer, okay? If you look at this and you mute the video now, okay, you shouldn't be able to tell which sound I'm making. B, P, B, P, B, P. The reason is because everything else I'm doing is the same. It's only the vibration, and that's not something that's visible, okay? So the reason this is really important is when we're looking at words that end in ed, okay? So like when we were saying about like watch, learn, clean, for example, okay? When we put an ed on the end, what we need to do is look at the sound just before the ed, okay? And that tells us what sound we need to put on the end, because it's either, in this case, a T or a D. There is a third one, but we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so it's a T or a D. And basically all you need to do is look at the sound before, remember not the spelling, the sound, and identify, does it have vibration? If it doesn't have vibration, we add the T. If it does have vibration, we add D. So to give you an example, if I say wash, okay, if we think that, if you, again, do it with me, so wash, and often it can help to make that last sound a little bit longer to really extend it. It should make it a bit easier. You should notice there the sh sound, no vibration, so it becomes washed. Whereas if you say, for example, clean, clean, has the vibration, cleaned. Okay, so basically what I'll do is while we're talking, I'll put some stuff up on here so you can see some examples and stuff like that. So really for anything that has like a consonant sound at the end, that's the simple way of identifying it, okay? The exception is when a word ends in T or D. So for example, wanted, needed. In that case, we have to use an id sound, okay? The reason for that is because when you have a T and a T together, when you put them together, it just becomes T. There's no definition, and because they're like two syllables, there has to be definition. You have to be able to hear them distinctly. Okay, so it's like when you say being, you have to hear those two vowel sounds, and in the same way you have to hear the two T's or D's. So in this case, we basically very simply just say id for both. Doesn't matter if it's a T or a D, the vibration in this case doesn't matter. It's just that if you have on tid, need, did. But those ones with the T and the D are the only ones that will use id. Every other sound will use either a T or a D, okay? And the important one to remember is vowel sounds, okay? Because vowel sounds always have vibration. They are always voiced. So, for example, if you look at a word like car, okay? It ends in an R with the spelling, but actually we don't pronounce the R. We don't say car, and obviously I'm talking British English here. American English is a little bit different. So, in this case, we actually use an R sound. And that R, and even if you want to try with your hand there, R, you should hear the vibration. So every vowel has vibration. So if it's an E, an oo, an R, an all of those sounds have vibration, which means if there is a word like that, then it will be with a D on the end, so the D sound. So just to give you some examples, if you think of like the verb pour, okay, you have poured, stir, stirred, order, ordered. So in this case, all of those sounds end in a vowel, so it will always be a D. So if it's not a consonant sound, and it's not a T or a D in that case, then it will always be the D sound, okay? So that's basically how we break it all down. It's a physical thing because realistically, if there's a sound at the end of the word that has no vibration, it's easier to produce a sound next that has no vibration. So that's often why when you're listening to people, sounds often get changed. It's just a physical thing that we're lazy and it's easier to pronounce things that way. It's harder to say, for example, like clean, because you have to stop the vibration. It's actually physically more difficult. If you're already doing that vibration, you can just move your tongue and your lips and stuff, and then it will just produce the new sound. So that's basically why we do this. So this rule is 100%, okay? And whenever I say 100% or always, just imagine I'm doing this because there are always exceptions to everything, as I'm sure you already know. But this is exactly how all of these words will be pronounced. So if you're ever not sure, all you need to do is go back, look at the sound just before ED, vibration or no vibration, and add a T or a D. And that's it. Simple, just like that. What I've done to help you with this is I've prepared a little cheat sheet, as you can see here. So basically it has all of the different examples here. So you have the words that end in T, in D, vibration, no vibration, and vowels and all of that. So they have the phonetic description and an example word, and they're all there so you can see them all on one page. It's just a cheat sheet. So if you're ever not sure, you can pull this up, check the IPA against what you find in the dictionary, and then that will always give you an idea. So I prepared this one that I like to call the pretty one, if you wanted to save it and have something, nice to look at as well, not just a boring document. Or if you decide to print it out and you want to, save the environment or not use all of your ink, there's like a black and white printer friendly version as well. So if you want to put it in your notebook or something like that, then you can do that. So if you want to get hold of this document, which you can use for reference to practice this idea, all you need to do is look in the description of the video below, click the link and join the English mailing list, and then you'll get a free copy of this as a PDF. So there we have it, a very simple, hopefully, and quick pronunciation video which will help you make your English sound much more natural and advanced straight away. So if there's any other pronunciation tips that you'd like me to have a look at, any pronunciation problems that you have, put a note in the comments below and I will have a look at them and look forward to making some videos to help you more. Have a great day, keep practicing your pronunciation, and I'll see you next time to improve more of your English. See you later.